if you haven't done so, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It helps with the algorithm of this podcast, visual podcast. And right next to the subscribe button, you see that bell? Hit the bell. It'll notify you every single time I put a new video out, okay? So do that for me. As I said before, just got done working out. I cannot start a week out without working out. So we're talking about the proactive versus the reactive mindset. Are you your own victim? Are you volunteering for your own drama? That type of shit, right? So for me, I grew up like most people in the hood in America. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in the hood. I'm from the Bay. I grew up in the 80s. I was raised in the 80s. I'm 36 now. I'm gonna be 37. If I showed you my neighborhood in the 90s and I showed it to you now, you'd be like, Kev, did you grow up in a white neighborhood? Because right now, my neighborhood is all white. You know what I'm saying? All white. And I'll tell you, no, I did not. I ain't grew up in a white neighborhood, but it's been heavily gentrified. You feel me? And let's see, that's a little better, ain't it? Lights just go out in this mezzanine. But so even though my mother had me at 19, and I was raised in the same house as my grandparents most of my life, I didn't have my own room. I shared a room all the way up until I was about 14. I grew up poor. I mean, people could sit here and be like, oh, well, you grew up in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley and all this other shit. Yeah. I went to rich white kids schools. Yeah. But that ain't got nothing to do with my socioeconomic status. You know, I'm grateful for my grandparents for being there, but just giving you a little background on my childhood to tell you that even though I was raised and born in the hood, you know what I'm saying? Anybody from the hood can relate to this, who have created a business and built themselves up and got up out of that poverty curse. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us black people specifically have been inflicted and stricken with for generations. You come up out of that poverty curse and shit. Even with that, my mother always pushed an abundance mindset. Now, there's a difference between being proactive and being reactive. So when you grow up proactive, right? You have a proactive mindset. You know that everything in life is about systems, right? So for me, I'm an extremist, okay? I'm an extremist. I have been extremely healthy. I've been extremely unhealthy. And when I mean healthy and unhealthy, I'm not talking about bedridden, hospital type shit. I'm talking about like mentally. You know what I'm saying? With me, I'm 180 positive on 180 negative. And with the 180 positive, I had to put systems in place in order for me to continue to have an even-keeled positive mindset, even through all the bullshit, man. Because I played victim before, don't get me wrong. If we went back 15 years ago, we talked to myself at 22, 20, I would have been 21. I was all victimhood, you know, when things happen to me, it happens to me 4 times bad. You know, my circumstance, I used to make a lot of excuses, you know. But as I've grown older, I grew to realize, like, you gotta put the right daily practices and systems in place in order to be proactive and in order to get to that goal that you want. So for me being 180 positive, I have been that person 180 negative first. You know, even though I was taught to come from an abundance mindset, you know, not having no money, eviction notices on your door, fucking having to go to the streets to pay your bills. You know what I'm saying? It'll put you in a mindset of poverty and scarcity, and you put yourself in a position where you can get yourself tricked off the streets. Luckily for me, when I caught my case, I didn't go to jail, I didn't do no jail time or no shit like that, but I definitely had to pay a heavy ass fine, restitution and probation and all type of shit. And I say these things because I'm trying to save your life. Hopefully, maybe it may not be you, but it might be your son or your niece, or this might have been you when you was a kid. I say something that might save you from going through any of the bullshit I went through. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why the podcast I had, Kevin Hates Hip Hop, on iTunes and Spotify for 7 years, it did so well, and I always was in the US top 100 philosophy charts. I was in the top 4. I was always in 14, 28. I was always up there for like my last 2 years. Is because I'm not better than you. I'm not gonna talk down. It's so many niggas that are successful in my age who just talk down to the streets. Nigga, I am the streets. I'm a product of my environment, and I broke through all the generational curses. My dad's generation, street shit. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother's generation, working for white people, slaving. You know what I'm saying? I wanted something more than that. So I had to, when I was negative, 180 negative, I was very reactive. I would be pissed off. I'd be spiteful. I used to blame people for where I was in my life. I didn't have no systems in place. I played the victimhood mentality, and it just made everything around me so dark and spiteful. And from that, I started to pick up drinking. You know what I'm saying? Never was no alcoholic, but I definitely did have times I drank too much. I did pick up emotional eating, and these are two things that are generational curses in my family that I picked up that had me gain some weight. I remember at one point, I got up to almost 300 pounds, you know what I'm saying, at one point. And I had to put the positive, 180 positive systems in place in my life. Like, man, when I wake up, perfect example, I didn't want to work out today. I did not feel like it. You feel me? I felt like staying my ass in the bed. But you know what I did? I got my ass up and I got my cardio in this morning. Why? Because that's the first thing I do in the morning that makes me feel good about the rest of the day. No matter what else happens, if I do nothing else for the rest of this day, because today is a national holiday, I'm good, G. I'm good. You know what I mean? So I had to put these systems in place to be more proactive. And I never knock you if you're a reactive person, because I've been there. I've been that, victimhood mentality, nigga. Oh, bad things happen to me, and oh, it's this motherfucker fault that I'm here, or oh, I can't find. I've been that guy where I used to say dumb shit about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 12 years ago. I don't ever want to get married. Excuse me. I don't ever want to get married because I don't want the woman to take half of everything I built. But you know what? There's a lot of positive things benefits for marriage, especially if you're black. That's going to be a different podcast. You know what I'm saying? But coming from that standpoint of, oh, I don't want to get married because she might take me for all my paper. That's dumb. That's dumb. You know what I mean? Looking for a negative outcome before you even get to the point to where things are even at that point. I did that shit a lot. I did that a lot, especially when I was younger, man. I had a whole lot of shit going on when I was about, like I said, when I was in my early 20s. And I would always be like, oh man, my mom is married to this dude that's abusive and on drugs, and, we don't have no money. And you know what I'm saying? And I felt like I had to grow up real fast. And now I look back at it, it was one of the best things that happened to me. At 17 years old, realizing my mom's had to go bankrupt when I was 17, right before I graduated college, high school, I mean. The dude she married, this nigga was a recovering meth addict, you know what I'm saying? She ain't married to him no more. I seen my mom go in debt behind this dude, 6 figures. And I built up this resentment towards women from this shit. Like, it just put me in this position where I was more reactive than I was proactive. And I was toxic as fuck. I was a 180 negative, man, all the way. And as I got older into my 20s, and I said, fuck this, I can't be reactive, man. The more energy you put out there that's negative, and you say shit like, oh man, I'm a victim of circumstance and all this other shit, You ain't gonna get no money. Nothing positive's gonna happen to you. And don't get me wrong, there are things in life that you can't control. Life's always gonna throw you curveballs, always, right? But if you have the mindset of you put these daily systems in place like I do, like I literally went from negative, reactive, drinking, eating too much, to, you know what, fuck this, I don't wanna be this guy no more. You know, when I got my mid-20s, I was like, I can't be this guy no more. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be positive and proactive. Positive and proactive, you know what I'm saying? And I started working out in the mornings. I started eating clean, and good food, good mood is some real shit. Cause I'm telling you, I've been there where, you know what I'm saying, you eating, I used to go out all the time. I started working in music, so I would go out. This is like my early 20s. I would go out and 3-4 times a week. Me and my man would go to Frisco. This is when we still lived in the Bay. We'd go Frisco and turn up, go to the Independent, go to Slim's, go to Club 6. This is OG shit, man. It's like 07, 08. This is when the Bay was the Bay. This is when Frisco was real Frisco, you know what I'm saying? Before all these like tech motherfuckers really moved in. And we used to go out, and I was 180 negative at that time. I didn't have a whole lot of money. So what I used to do was I would just go party and bullshit, late night eating turf burritos and shit, super burritos in East Oakland on East 13. Man, it was East 14th, you know what I'm saying? It was a different lifestyle. But I do remember the fact that when I was feeding myself with all that toxic food and drinking, my mood was fucked up. You know what I'm saying? My mood was all the way fucked up. But then when I detoxed and I stopped drinking and I started eating clean and all that other shit and started eating more and started losing some weight, nigga, my shit went from a 180 negative to a 180 positive. So if you're at a place in your life right now when you find yourself toxic, you know you toxic. You ain't gotta sit here and have a conversation with somebody else about it, but you know you toxic, right? And you're super tense, intense and all that other shit. Imagine if you stop being so reactive, right? Especially for my young niggas, because when we're young and toxic, we can do something that one crime that takes 15 seconds to do can put your ass away for 15, 20, 30 years. So be very careful. Trust me, when I was in my early 20s, I've had shit happen to me that put me in a position where I could have got killed. I've been carjacked before at 22. I'm hustling in somebody else's hood, knowing I ain't supposed to be doing that shit, right? Look, if you can be negative 180, negative, super toxic, imagine if you took the systems, the daily systems, you start meditating, you start working out, you start eating clean, you get away from all your toxic friends, you really work on yourself, no matter where you are, my nigga, because at the end of the day, nobody gives a fuck about your victimhood, especially as a black man. Nobody cares about your black man tears, G. Nobody gives a fuck about your black tears, period, even as a woman. So imagine if you put the daily practices in place, like I said, man, for that 180 proactive shit. You start working out in the morning, you start journaling, you start going to therapy. You know what I'm saying? I know some of y'all are religious. Church ain't enough, man. All that, I'm just gonna go pray and go to church, that ain't gonna work a lot of times. You need to go to a therapist. Do like I did, pick up a microphone. I started doing Kevin Hates Hip Hop in 2014. Changed my life. You know what I'm saying? For the better. This shit is my therapy. And now I'm doing this video shit. This is therapeutic. You know what I'm saying? So if you put the daily practices in time, G, and then you're in a negative spot right now, you can be 180 positive, completely different person. And especially if you want to come from an abundance mindset, you must change your mindset and do the daily practices every single day in order for you to be positive. All right? Yo, man, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, comment below. Let me know if this shit helped you out. Share this with your friends. And look, man, I appreciate you for tapping in. Peace and love.